Hi everybody. So my name is Aldair. I work at a company called News. If you haven't heard of it, we are a hospitality company. Our goal is to essentially drag hospitality kicking and screaming from old on-premise and solutions into the cloud and actually start to solve real-world problems that most people haven't bothered to touch for the last 20 to 30 years. So what I want to talk about today is really focusing on how you can deliver value through those feedback loops. And I was just laughing with Peter just now. You're going to see a lot of similar diagrams throughout a lot of these presentations, I assume. So we'll start off with those tag feedback loops. So when you're doing continuous discovery, the best part about it is that you can learn about things in real time. But that also means that you can deliver value to your customers in real time continuously, especially after you've found your product market fit and you're growing your company really quickly. The stage that we've gotten to in Muse was 3 years ago. We didn't have a product team. And then we figure out, okay, we need to figure out how to speak to our clients. And now that we're actually speaking to our clients, we have all these opportunities. How do we figure out what to build next and get it out there as quick as possible? So we would build things and then wait, and some people would use it and some people wouldn't. And then we realized, oh, well, we need to speak to our customers that we build this stuff for, because what was happening is it was essentially us sitting behind a desk, and at that time it was mainly engineering teams and a couple of people who were speaking to customers or speaking to customer-facing teams, and then trying to figure out what we need to do next and taking things from there. After some very painful learning experience, we figured out that, okay, we need to set ourselves a direction, be open to our customers saying, this is where we want to go. This is how we want to change how the industry works. We want to figure out what your problems are, and this is the problem set that we're going to be focusing on. So we actually went out and started to continuously speak to people, put our product out there. We started getting designs out there before we actually started writing codes. So we could really quickly iterate on what we were learning about. And the great part about that feedback loop is, whilst you're learning new things, you can also not only deliver code straight to production, whether it's to beta testers or to everybody who's live. It means that you can make decisions really quickly, especially in, we work in hospitality and the market took a real hard turn very recently. It allowed us to make really fast decisions and really make sure the company kept moving forward really quickly. So a few things that we learned about having what I would call the key components to type feedback loop. Speak to the customers, especially the tough ones that are complaining about the product, but also speak to the happy ones. You need to learn the balance of what customers want. They are, in our case at least, they are the specialists, especially in B2B, right? Like, they are the specialists who are doing something every single day. But where you can deliver value to them is that you can find new ways and more efficient ways to solve those problems. Then there is also looking at learning in real time, right? We now don't have limitations of, okay, we put something out there, it's this version X, Y, Z of a software, and then we come back, hope someone says something. If they don't, okay, we'll carry on building. Be brave enough to say, what I released was great, amazing, but sometimes what you release isn't going to be good. You need to make the decision of moving in the right direction as fast as possible and give yourselves the tools and the environment to make that choice as well. So one thing that really helped us as we were figuring out how to actually do discovery and then have those tight feedback loops is setting yourself up for success with mental models. Like, we all in product deal with frameworks all the time, but what I love about mental models is that it takes off that cognitive overload of constantly having to think, how are you doing things? But giving yourself a process to ask yourself the right questions so you can continuously deliver value and without getting distracted. So I have 4 of my favorite sort of mental frameworks that we love to use at the moment and use. And the first is the opportunity canvas, or some of you know the design canvas or the lean canvas. What I really like about this is that it's a really quick way where in like 15 or 30 minutes, you can ask yourself a series of questions about any opportunity or issue that your customers are encountering and challenge those ideas. A lot of what we found before is that we weren't challenging our own ideas and we weren't challenging sometimes our customers' ideas. How does this actually impact the people you're solving the problem for, and who are those people? So if we run through it, I have a really easy example, and because I work in the travel industry, and this is something I think you can all relate to. How do we solve issues where there are long check-in queues and everybody is missing their flights? If anybody traveled recently, you'll know that a lot of airlines are missing flights and there's huge staff shortages, right? So how do we solve a problem like that? Well, who are we trying to solve it for? There's obviously the airport security who's getting droves and droves of people who suddenly appear and then suddenly it's quiet. And there's droves of people who appear and then it's quiet. So how do we make that more efficient for them? Or what about the business travelers? They're just trying to get from point A to B to their meeting, get to their hotel, travel back, and get done with it. There's obviously your leisure travelers, people who haven't taken a holiday in the last 2 years in this case, and they can be pretty annoyed with you if they can't get onto their flight. And then the general solution would be, and I'm sure you've been to a lot of airports, okay, we just going to open a couple more desks, which unfortunately means now you've got to hire more people. So now you have a higher employment cost. And there's a labor shortage, so you can't even find those people. So what are the ideas that we come up to solve something like this? Okay, well, what if we put a couple of kiosks around the airport? Let people check in themselves. There's always going to be people with bags, so they can go to the queue. Cool, solve that. But that's still a small percentage of people. Or, well, what if we let people just check in online when they're at home? And then somebody can still drop their bags off and just have a different queue for baggage drop. And essentially what you're doing here is you're just providing an easy way for people to check in past the airport. Seems like a super easy problem to solve, right? So thinking about, well, what are the benefits of that? So what? So if I solve this, how do I actually measure that I've made a difference? Right? Remembering that we want to be able to measure this in real time and actually look at what people are doing. Obviously avoiding those whole pirate metrics of the stuff that makes you feel good over time. Think about the percentage of people that are actually decreasing those flights. Are you actually making a difference in the problem that you're aiming to solve? How much money are you saving for people? And what difference does that make you if you are an airline provider or if you are an airport? And how do you actually monitor adoption and actually promote it for the people who are going to be using this? Also, have a look at the effects of the business benefits. So have your labor costs go down? So if you are a software provider and you're providing this to the airport, can you say to them, you put in 3 kiosks, you've enabled this online check-in, you saved yourself 3 people, how much is that going to cost them? Right? And set a budget. So really simple questions, and you'll see why I started this, we'll go into it a bit later. But super simple questions that you can really start asking yourself. Again, it takes 15 or 20 minutes to really just run through this, either with yourself or with your team. But the idea is to start asking yourself difficult questions. And then also look at the opportunity solution tree. So we really, really love these, and sometimes they get gigantic and they grow bigger and bigger, but it's also a great way to get your team excited. I love getting even the engineers in the team involved in, here's an opportunity that we're actually trying to solve, and here's the impact of it. Now that you've got your actual opportunity canvas, you can explain to people, this is why something's actually important, and this is why we need to solve it. So if we look at the example I mentioned earlier with the busy the busy airport, when we were working with huge 500, 600 bedroom hotels, we would go there and visit clients, and we're stuck in a queue for 20 or 30 minutes, right? If you travel for work, super frustrating because you just want to put your bag down and you need to go to a meeting as soon as possible. Or if you're traveling on holiday, all you want to do is put your bags on, relax with your family, and not worry about stuff. So like, okay, how do we figure out how to, if you focus on the opportunity in this case, right at the top, what is the opportunity here? Well, we want to decrease the time it takes for people to check in. So it's frustrating for hotels, it's frustrating for the guests, nobody likes it. And then the ideal outcome of this is, people getting to rooms faster, but it also means there's shorter queues and you're not walking into a hotel and thinking, oh gosh, I just want to get inside, but I'm going to be annoyed by the time I actually speak to this poor person at the front desk. So what are the possible solutions here? I'm like, hold on, somebody solved this before. The entire airline industry and the airports have had this exactly same problem. What if before you actually arrive in the town, you could just, I don't know, check in online? Who would have thought? Super easy. How do we run a quick experiment for that? Is put a fake door test, a button in an email, and figure out how many people are actually willing to check in online before we start investing into this. And before we go to our leadership team and say, hey, we have this great idea. This is what we're trying to solve. This is the impact we have. And we ran a really quick experiment. It took us 15 minutes to put it out there, just a little button, and we're just tracking the clicks. But here's the opportunity that we can have. And if we look at the other solution, what if we just set up a kiosk? You don't have to build out an entire application for this. You can literally do very low code, literally just a button and someone holding a kiosk saying, hey, would you like to come check in? Do you like a fast check-in? Imagine how many people, if you look, easy example, supermarket. How many of you still go to the normal baggage aisle? Most of us just go to the kiosk. If you stand there, you'll be surprised how many people would actually go there. And again, these are really easy things that you can do to start figuring out how you can experiment with ideas. But all of this feedback is super helpful when you're trying to gather evidence, especially speaking to your leadership team in order to invest into something, right? Because you need to be able to have convincing arguments. And sometimes, most times, especially if you've got a leadership team like I imagine most successful companies have, if you say, I have a good idea, they're going to say, so what? What value does it have? Who is it valuable for? Can you prove it? Right, so it's super easy steps that you can take, and this is why I really like the opportunity solution tree. You can have hundreds of ideas, and a lot of the time you're going to throw a lot of them away. And this is obviously a much more simplified version of this. This could go on and on. But the great part about that is when it comes to actually pivoting, then you have a whole backlog of ideas you can work towards, and you're not starting scratching your head from scratch. Another thing that I really like is something we recently came across called the Kano model. So now that you've done that opportunity tree, you need to think, okay, well, what's going on in the market? If you have product marketing teams, chances are that some of them have done some sort of market investigation. They have some sort of backlog of what your competitors are doing and what's in the market, what's new, what's old. Look at your ideas. Give yourself an honest perspective and really say, okay, what is really basic? If we put it in, people kind of gonna expect this to be there. And what is, okay, this is good, but sure, like everybody has it. And what's gonna really delight people? And when you look at that tree you've just built, you're starting to find that your ideas become a little more complicated with every step. So which of those ideas are truly valuable opportunities that maybe one day could become differentiators? An easy thing to look at there is very tiny. For hotels, if we have a hotel software, can people check in from the reception desk? Yeah, well, I kind of expect the software to be able to do that. Can you check in via a kiosk? Cool, that's nice. I've seen kiosks in tons of hotels now. That's pretty normal. I see it in stores. I see it in airports. Can I check in online? Well, it's super convenient. I like that now suddenly my 500-room hotel, their reception desk, I only need 2 people. And that means I save a ton of money. I kind of expect that. Cool, great value add. But where do I go from there? What if people were automatically checked into the hotel 8 hours before they arrived? Look at your data. You can obviously easily tell that, okay, most people, maybe 50% of people in this case, might not go to the hotel, but 8 hours before, they're already ready and they checked in. So all you need to do is just let them walk in, and then all they need to do is grab a key card and they're done. So always think about your opportunities in that way and really think about the market from a pool perspective as well. Again, these things really just take a few minutes to come up with ideas. Another thing that we love, and this is a part where you can really start speaking to customers, just super low fidelity prototypes and just throw some ideas out there. Talk to some of your customers that really love your product and use it often. Throw in some concepts of the design, and in this case, in this scenario, we're just looking at, okay, how do we slightly change how people view products and pricing? It is so easy to just give people a concept and say, hey, does this make sense to you? It could be in the form of a Loom video, which we've become massive fan of. It could be just a quick email or a survey. These are, again, really quick forms of now gathering up qualitative feedback on all the information you've done before. Of course, you can also go all the way through. You can go all out. You can go for a good high-fidelity prototype. We've recently gotten much better at actually constantly having a version of our system in Figma, which means that it's super easy for us to plug in new concepts and actually change them. We had a really fun trip in March. We actually went to visit a client, and we went to see a series of 5 different clients over 3 days. And through each time we visited a client, and it was with myself, our lead engineer, and the lead designer, so as a product trio, we went out to see them, and we had a high fidelity prototype. After every meeting, we would take an hour together, we can gather the feedback. That made sense. That concept that we thought about was slightly different, how we slightly tweaked that, and we went on to the next person. So we had really had an updated version of that prototype. Again, a nice, easy way, if you have like a Loom video or something, you can send out to people and immediately gather feedback from them. It saves you so much time and you can gather information so much faster. And then the next part is releasing things in small increments. It's really important when you're starting to set expectations of yourself that you know you can't do everything at once. If we were, in the case of companies like Apple that just have almost infinite amounts of money and we can just throw $250,000 at this idea and $2 billion another, we can't. We need to start to figure out, okay, we've got the initial concept set up. How do we release the best item with minimum value? And I'm not talking about MVP in this case. I would say an MVP is more focused on when you find your product market fit. But here, you should consciously know that you're going to be investing in this later and learning from it. Be able to gather data from what you're going to be released. So the few fundamentals about that is that you have to understand the pain that you're solving, the gain. So whatever the outcomes are going to be for those customers, and amount of value that they're actually going to derive from it. And going all the way back to what you looked at earlier, how are you going to measure it? And how are you going to be able to share this information to prove that, okay, we're going in the right direction, let's carry on. But at the same time, how are you going to be able to say, we thought this was a good idea, this is not working out, people want this, we go back to our opportunity tree, this is the direction we're going, this is where we think there's going to be value, this is the slice of that we're going to test, get out there and see if people actually like it and will use it. And the last part is, I feel like it's become a bit of a catchphrase lately, being data informed. Checking value through impact, right? So you need to set yourself very clear objectives, but also be honest in understanding in real time how people are doing things. And we have much more better tools now that provide us access to this. Think about how you're actually changing the user's behavior. Again, if you're reporting back to your leadership teams, they're going to know how are you moving your OKRs, how are you improving this at the moment. And if you haven't got that information, it's a really tough conversation to have, whether it's the end of the month, end of the sprint, or whenever you're reviewing your OKRs. So make sure you constantly know what you're doing and why. Keep that information somewhere, whether it's your research repository or anything else. Just make sure that you're able to prove, and I think I don't know a few PMs here, but I'm sure this will happen to you occasionally. Your boss, your manager, or the CPM will say, hey, what are you working on? Why? And before, and how's it doing? It's so easy if you already have those models in your head. You say, hey, I'm working on these things and these are the benefits and these are people are chasing for. And you go, oh, that was awesome. Cool. Have a great day. Wouldn't wish I have it all the time. The last part is that qualitative feedback part. I mentioned earlier that a lot of the time, and I'm speaking purely from PTB in this case, your customers are the experts. They're the people who you are solving problems for. You need to put your ideas out there, but you also need to realize that if you build with them, you can build much better and much faster than the people who think sitting behind the desk and having the best ideas and patting themselves on the back because they've just done 50 feature releases. You don't need 50 feature releases if you can do 5 or 3 really valuable ones. Partner with the people who you know are the innovators, people who will help you grow, people who are curious, people who also want to solve problems. They will help you grow so much faster and learn so many more things than you ever thought you could, right? So if you don't have like some sort of beta testing program or pool of people that you can easily reach out to when you have questions, people who are willing to look at your crazy diagrams and listen to your crazy ideas, I really recommend actually getting those people or get a list together if it's 2 or 3, because those people inevitably become reference customers for you. When somebody else calls them and says, I want to use the system, what do you think of it? These are the people who are going to say, they started here, it wasn't great, it got better, but I'm so excited about what they're working on because already you've built a relationship with them and they know that you're delivering value. It might not always be exactly what they want, but it's something that has a good impact on them. And last but not least, just a couple of fun tools that I really started to find really helpful in really being able to do quick releases and make quick ideas is launch darkly. If you have ever spent time asking your dev team to code in a feature flag, then roll back a release, and then asking the code back to release it to production, and you're sitting there going, we really piss people off. We really need to turn this off right now. I really recommend getting a tool like this. It not only means that you can release things to just a small group of people, it also means that when you're gathering data, it's super easy to do things like A/B tests when you can actually look at people who are using a specific set of functionality. And that fits into the next part, which is tools like Heap. Great tool for understanding your customer interactions and activities on the site. It's always great to look at sort of transaction activities, especially if you're looking forward thinking. But if you're just doing small increments of stuff, actually understanding what people are doing in real time makes it so easy to go back and tweak things and again be able to validate why you're making those ideas. There's still a couple of people who use Google Analytics. I find it a little slow and clunky. Not my favorite tool, but just make sure you have something that allows you to make these decisions and gives you the evidence that you can actually share with your leadership teams as well. Last but not least is tools like Hotjar. Slightly great tools, but sometimes, and a lot of the case in our case is people don't always go to your system when they have a problem. If somebody is stepping away, and in our case going to Excel to try to figure out what the name of the guest is and what their room number is and if they've cut a key or not, you've got a problem, right? Sometimes you're not going to be sitting behind the customer. So if you can get tools that can help you actually see what customers are doing and see how they interacting, I found it was super helpful for design as well to actually validate their ideas and actually put through the value of design as well. Thank you very much.